friend of ours, Sheriff Jeff Johnson. For over 30 years, Sheriff Jeff Johnson has called Dawson County his home. The son of a carpenter, Johnson initially followed in his father's footsteps, entering the construction field. However, it didn't take Johnson long to heed the call to enter the public safety arena. First with Dawson County Fire Department, where he served as a certified firefighter and first responder. Johnson is a graduate of Dawson County High School, woohoo, and the University of North Georgia, as well as an honors graduate of the Northeast Georgia Police Academy. In his personal life, Johnson is married his high school sweetheart, Lisa, who's also amazing. Dawson County native, she has been a longtime employee of the Dawson County school system. Jeff and Lisa are blessed with 2 sons, Zach and Josh. Professionally, he originally began his law enforcement career with the Hall County Sheriff's Department in early 90s. In 1996, you must have been like 10, right? Okay. In 1996, Johnson embarked upon a lengthy stint with the Gainesville Police Department. And in 2004, he came home to serve Dawson County under the command of Sheriff Billy Carlisle. In 2009, he assumed the duties of the detention commander, leading and managing the largest division in the agency. In 2010, Major Jeff Johnson was named Georgia's top jail commander by the Georgia Jail Association. In 2016, Jeff Johnson was elected as Sheriff of Dawson County. It is my pleasure to introduce Sheriff Jeff Johnson.
Don't you hate files? Absolutely. I don't know where you dug that one up at. Can everybody hear me without this microphone?
Yes.
It's good and bad. Thank you. Well, it's certainly our honor and privilege to be with you this morning. Thank you for the invitation. And yeah, I hate files. I really do. I am blessed. I'm blessed to serve in Dawson County, and certainly blessed with a good family. Dear wife, that I couldn't ask for any better. 2 sons, we have a daughter-in-law. I guess since one of it would have been there, right? And never failed to mention our rescue terrier named Boo. And I always tell this story. I grew up in a house where my dad never allowed us to have a dog in the house. That was just taboo. It didn't happen. We always had a dog, but it's an outside dog. So I grew up with that same mentality. You know, how you raised, you kind of think the same way. And we never had a dog in the house. Just would not have. Hello, Mayor. I didn't say your. Maybe let's return the thought.
Inside dog.
No, outside dog. So our oldest son went to college and he was playing football and living off campus, and all the rest of the guys had a dog, and he decided he had to have one. Well, it was actually found out late, I think in the Dawson County, one of our school teachers, I'm sorry I don't remember her name, had actually found this little terrier walking up the side of the road. And she's been with us for about 10, 11 years now. She's in the bed with us 27 nights. We love a little bit. But anyways, we'll move on with things. Never want to miss an opportunity to say thank you for allowing me to serve as your sheriff. It's truly an honor and a privilege. And you mentioned 30 years. This month, actually, is my 30th year in law enforcement. So it's been an interesting ride. Today, when I talk to you, I want to talk to you about some of the things. I want to do a brief recap of the Sheriff's Office, talk to you about some of the current trends in Dawson County, and I also want to talk to you about some of the things that we're going. But it is the Dawson County Sheriff's Office, and our most valuable resource is what? Our people. And I have a captain with us today that I do want to introduce. We hadn't got a chance to bring Brad around. Captain Brad Rounds retired from Hall County Sheriff's Office. Brad has been in law enforcement 33 years. Has over 3,000 hours of law enforcement training. He's a graduate of the FBI National Academy. We're proud to have Brad. He's here. Please, before you leave today, just stop by and say hello. And Brad's over our patrol. Brad, you want to stand up? Say anything you like?
Well, I appreciate the invite today. It's been an honor working for Sheriff Johnson. It's totally different. So I was commander of Hall County Patrol Division for many years. Again, I started at Hall County when I was 19. So 32 years later, I know you're going, he only looks 27. I get it. I went from 180 to 200 deputies in Hall County to 30 here, and it is awesome. I love serving you here. I love serving Sheriff Johnson. I will tell you this, I'm not saying it because he's here, but we have a sheriff that has a heart and service to be done. And that's who I like to work for. So I appreciate it.
And that's what Dawson County is comprised of. It's comprised of a great group of men and women who want to serve. And that's what we want here in Dawson County, and I'm thankful that we have it. Not without our issues, not without our problems. And I can tell you, if you're looking for a perfect sheriff, keep looking past me. If you're looking for the perfect SO, keep looking past us. But we're going to do the best we can. We do have a heart. So as we get into this, and I want to see a show of hands. Who here can answer what a full-service law enforcement agency is? Anybody want to take a jab at it? Show of hands. Well, we got to raise your hand first. Now, let me preface this and say, I don't see any adult or any kids in the room. It is a family-oriented organization here, so remember that when you answer what a full-service law enforcement is. Yeah.
I'm going to kind of assume like your patrol, your resource officers, your, do you have lice or any of the other ones that go along with it?
And that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
What you have in Dawson County, thank you. What you have in Dawson County,
It doesn't work.
we have,
Just so you know.
Sandy, you don't know Sandy's name?
Dawson County is a full-service law enforcement agency, which means that we do it all here. And if you look at Metro Atlanta, if you look at Fulton County, Gwinnett County, Cobb County, the sheriff down there is responsible primarily for the courthouse and for the jail and warrant service. All patrol, all criminal investigations, most 911 and all are handled through the county police department and so forth. Here in Dawson County, your sheriff's office handles everything, from investigations to running the jail to patrol, everything here. So who else in Dawson County? We're kind of a little bit different from other counties. We have a city here, right? But we don't have a city police department here. Thankful to the city that they do fund a couple of deputies for us, and we primarily keep them within the city limits. But we do have GSP. And GSP has been a tremendous asset to us as far as working accidents and things of that nature. And I'll also say this, you won't interrupt me if you raise your hand. You won't interrupt me if you get up and walk out. So please, just feel at liberty. And I thank you for the turnout. I know it's for the dinner. I'm glad to have you here anyway. My clicker's not working. I swear Well, do we need to be done? Okay. I don't leave time for question and answer. I know there's a lot of hot topics going on right now across our country, and I've been asked about some up here in Dawson County, so I did want to spend a few minutes on that. Again, we don't think about law enforcement until we see the blue lights in the mirror, right? And I'm telling you, still to this day, if a cop gets behind me, I'm looking at my speed. And I joke and say one of the biggest tickets I ever got was when I was a major under Billy Carlisle. And my son was going to Troy, he's playing football, and you know, there's nothing to stand between the days and the college football game. Not even GSP was sitting on the side of the road. He was just a slight interruption, but the interruption I think cost me around $300. But there's a lot to the sheriff's office. Obviously, we do operate our 911 center up here. It's conducted through the sheriff's office. We have our patrol operations. One thing that I'm very proud of here, I know we got a couple of commissioners in attendance. We have our school superintendent. We have good coverage in our SRO program. We've actually got 9. Well, one of them is an administrative lieutenant that he goes around and checks on and does the administrative side of it. But we've got 8 real schools, 4 elementary schools, a middle, a junior, and a high. We've got 9 positions for that. So we're excited about that. We're working with school and our commissioners. We'll have 2 deputies. Once we're able to get the personnel transition, we'll have 2 deputies at our high school all the time. That's huge for us. We have investigations, detention, court services, OPS. One thing that you see in the news a lot is police misconduct. You see force applications, things like that. It's very, very important that we police our own. Now, I told you earlier, if you're looking for a perfect sheriff's office, go look somewhere else because you're not going to find it here. We've got a good, solid group of men and women serving, but they're still men and women, and we're still fallible. We're still going to make mistakes and do things that we shouldn't do. So we have to make sure that we try to correct that. We have to make sure that we address it, we correct it, and unfortunately, we've had to terminate people over our time here. And we live to see tomorrow. We'll continue to do so. That's just part of it. But there's an OPS that does that. It's our internal affairs. So they keep a good check on things. If we have issues come up, obviously we get them involved. Now, if it's a criminal violation, suspected something like that, obviously we're bringing an outside agency such as the GBI to handle that. Then we have our administration, which is our human resources, records, things like that. And I'll tell you, this is just a wet my whistle, but it's not your afternoon beverage, I promise you. Our 911 center, those, and again, I'm going to breeze through this pretty quick. This is our lifeline. When you call, these men and women are going to answer your call for service. They dispatch, they do the record entry. There's a lot of things that they do right now, and we'll talk about our upcoming. Well, I'll lean on one of the commissioners. What's our time frame for our new EOC? Chris, do we have a ballpark right now?
Thank you for asking, Chris.
We're on the front end of it, but it's SPLOSH funded, so we've collected the funds already for that. And then it's working concurrently with our radio system, which I've been involved in. So it's going to probably take 18, 24 months to completion of that.
And when that happens, they'll actually move out of the sheriff's office into this new building. And again, it is a needed building. We're in a small, limited space where we're at. We still got a nice facility. I think it was opened in 2007. It's a very nice facility. We're trying to keep it that way. Unfortunately, we're just outgrowing it. And Commissioner Dennings mentioned the radio system. This is a big, important thing for us. This is a big project. This is a costly project. But please know, as community leaders, as community business people, this is a project that is much, much needed. There's spaces in this county that deputies get out, they can't get on the radio. And if they can't communicate, if something happens. And I tell you, you know, the different day and time, it's unbelievable at the amount of people now that officers or deputies are making traffic stops and they're just bailing out of cars, coming up. And you know, these are serious situations that may or may not lead to something. However, that radio is a lifeline, so I certainly appreciate the board moving forward for that. That would be a big project. Again, it's an expensive project, but it is a much needed project. Patrol, nothing really new to report there. As you can see in the activity numbers, it's busy. And as Captain Round said, what's your number now, 30?
Yes, sir.
And now, do know that we have a crime suppression unit. We do have some K-9 officers that fall under that. We have our heat units, our traffic units that fall up under that. So we're during our busy times. So as you can see with the numbers, Dawson County stays pretty busy for where we're at. And obviously, the more our county grows, the bigger we get, the more people we get into our county, the busier we will become. We have our investigations. The only thing I really point out about that is I'm going to harp a little bit. I'm going to get on soapbox number 2 today on the internet crimes against children. This is big. And we're going to talk about social media in just a little bit. It's unbelievable. But realize this, that it takes a certain person to take a gun and go in the store and rob you. But how easy is it for somebody to sit in the dark corner of their house on their computer and try to take advantage of folks? It's unbelievable. How many of you here gets the phone messages, your Amazon account has been locked, you need to respond? I get stuff, I don't even have an Amazon account. But my account is locked. She does. They're, see, you got me distracted. It'll come back to me. But anyway, talking about that, talking about disclosing personal information. Any of these things you get, please don't open them. Don't even entertain them. I remember where I was going. So, Lisa and I were looking one time at, we got people who wanted to know English, full of them. And some of you in here may own it. Beautiful, not cheap. And she got to dealing with somebody online about an old English bulldog. And I think they wanted $600-700 for it or something, which would have been a deal, and you know, for them. And she got communicating with them, and they fired back something like, well, the dog's actually not here now. It's got to be shipped over. It's got to have this done and that done. And my simple reply was, get a job. And I said, get that computer. I said, get a job. And I never heard anything back from them. But they're out there, and they will take advantage of you. They will try to take your money. They'll try to take your information. So please, how many of you in here have elderly folks that you may be responsible for? Moms and dads? Please, please keep an eye on them. Don't let them fall for that stuff. Don't let them fall for, hey, I'm with the sheriff's office and I need, you know, we're taking up money. And so just be very, very careful with those. Offender watch, if you didn't know that, you can look up Dawson County Sheriff's Office Offender Watch, and you can see the registered offenders that's living in your neighborhood. Something to keep an eye on. And I broke it again. Dustin, I've broken it again. I'm so sorry. Sorry, you did me.
Did you know that it is illegal to deny someone to work?
We're good. I'll just get that out. All right, another question. Raise your hand. Who here knows the primary difference between jail and prison? Yes, ma'am.
Prison is federal, jail is where you're getting held, right?
It's close enough.
Okay.
You're thank you. The jails are your primarily pretrial holding facilities. You have some sentenced people in the jail. Some of them were sentenced up to a year. Sometimes we get, you know, sentences longer than that. But your prisons are your long term. So don't confuse the two. We run a jail up here, not a prison. So these are men and women that have been charged, waiting trial, that may be awaiting to go to prison. Now, you've all heard those saying what? You're innocent until what? Guilty. So with that being the case, there's a lot of challenges in our jail, and I'll back up and say this. Our jail is primarily staffed that are the youngest, most inexperienced. These are young men and women that are coming in to work. And we're placing them in positions, obviously, with training, but we're telling them to take care of a man or woman and provide for their constitutional rights, make sure we're giving them medical care, make sure we're giving them, you know, feeding them properly, things of that nature. So it's a tough job for a young deputy starting out. I started out in jail. Captain Brown started out in jail. But it's also a make or break too. A lot of people don't make it out of jail. They either quit, terminate, something like that. They may not be successful in it. So there's a lot of challenges there. Jails are expensive to operate. Just this year, again, I take the hat off to the board. We now have 24-hour medical coverage in our jail. It was needed. It's not cheap. Even our meals, you know, we have to feed 3 nutritious meals a day. The old adage, what you see on TV, bread and water, they don't float, right? And if I got locked up and I wasn't guilty, I'd be mad if I got bread and water every day. So we have to be careful in that. We have to have nutrition that tells how many calories they take, have to have you know, how many portions and sizes and different stuff like that. So there's kind of a science to that as well. I'll share something to you. It's called, anybody here ever heard of Nutriloaf? It's something that some jails do, that some prisons do. And basically, if you have somebody that acts up, that just won't cooperate, that just won't get along with the program, and isolation, or they've been violent or something like that, obviously you don't want to put even a plastic fork or spoon in their hand. What Nutriloaf is they will take yesterday's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That may be scrambled eggs, that may be meatloaf, that may be a bologna sandwich. They blend it up, and they put it in a nice little meatloaf pan, and they bake it. And they take it out of the pan, they cut a slice off, they put it on a piece of paper, and you know, enjoy breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Now, again, if something gets your mind right sometimes, that might get your mind right. But Miss Julie, we don't avoid that at Dawson County. Not that I had wanted to. But there are, the jail's an interesting thing. I know a lot of folks in here yesterday were coming through the leadership, Dawson, and certainly glad to have you. It's a different feeling when that door closes behind you. But I certainly appreciate the men and women that are serving today. Obviously, our courts, if you went into our courts, and I always use this opportunity to apologize, I know it's aggravating to take the belt off. I know it is, but, they store knives in their belt buckles, they have guns, and we are tasked with trying to keep a safe courthouse. And had a gentleman come in one day, he's a veteran, bless his heart, and I understand, he came to the sheriff's office, he wanted to talk, and he was upset, and I understand. I mean, he'd given his life, not his life, but he'd given years and years to, for our country, and then I said, I gotta come over here and go to tag office, and I gotta take my belt off and check my shoes and stuff like that. And I mean, I understood, and we left, shook hands, had a good rapport, but it is difficult sometimes. But please know that some things are necessary. We talked about our OPS state certification, Dawson County Sheriff's Office. There's 159 counties in Georgia. Out of that, there's 24 sheriff's offices that are state certified. And we're proud to say that Dawson County is a state certified law enforcement agency. So what does that mean? That means that we're abiding by certain established policies and procedures, follow-ups, investigations, things of that nature. So we're proud of that. That's something that Sheriff Carlisle had started years ago, and they come in every 3 years and do a complete audit. They check previous years when they come in and do it on site. So it's something that we're proud of here. And again, for 24 out of 159 counties, we like to hang our hat on that a little bit. All goes back to our people. Somebody asked me the other day, I know there was something in the news about a former police officer that got arrested for murder or something like that. And somebody mentioned about, well, I wonder if they done a background. And, it takes a while for somebody to get hired on into most law enforcement agencies that I'm familiar with. Because, there is an extensive background, there's work history, there's polygraph examinations, there's psychological examinations. We try to cover and check all the boxes, make sure that they're a right fit for us. But sometimes, they fall through the crack. And I say this, our psychiatrists that we use, and again, it's not cheap. I mean, for every candidate we get in, we're spending about $350 just on that test alone. But I'll say this, she saved us. She's come to us, I'm not recommending this candidate, and this is why. She denied a candidate for us one time that, again, fit all the criteria, looked like a good applicant. And she obviously articulated why she denied him. It was just 2 or 3 months later, we were arresting him for some family violence stuff. And I believe there was even some weapon charges with him. So it has saved us in the long run. All right, some things we talk about in our community. Citizens Law Enforcement Academy. Just a quick plug, if you've never been to our Citizens Law Enforcement Academy, please attend. We post it on our Facebook. It's a 6-week program. We typically have a graduation night. If you've never been, you get exposed to everything. This is a big overview, but you get a good detailed understanding of what goes on in your sheriff's office. You get to, obviously you don't get to drive on patrol, but you can drive home. And obviously you get to see a good in-depth look at who we are and what we do. Let me get on my platform. Your sheriff's office is a big supporter of the Second Amendment. We believe in it, we encourage it, we endorse it. We hold several classes a year. And I can tell you this, if evil were to walk through the doors of this place right now, I know at least 2 guns that are coming out to meet that evil. And I would hope that there's more than 2 guns coming out to meet that evil. And I say that with all sincerity. We live in a different day and time. Y'all know that. And I'm so thankful that I live in Georgia. I'm so thankful that I live in North Georgia, where it seems like there's still good common sense values still reign. And the reason I say that is that, one, why we still have men and women getting in law enforcement. I applaud them, I admire them, and I thank them. But I still wonder why they do it sometimes. And I wonder why they do it in places like Atlanta, city of Atlanta, Fulton County. When officers, and I'm not saying officers are perfect, but they do things they shouldn't do sometimes. But when some officers are doing exactly how they're trained and how they're supposed to respond, and then they get locked up for it, there's a problem there. There's a problem in the courts there too. So again, we're advocates of it. We hold several classes a year. please come see us. We go through the basics. We tell you, what to carry, how to carry, when you can use force and things of that nature. So please know, if you want some good quality firearms training, we have a lot of firearms instructors out there. We encourage it, and you're certainly invited. I'll jump off that. Some things that your sheriff's office does in the community, involvement, neighborhood watch programs, church security and safety programs. If your church wants to work with us, we'll send deputies out. We do on-site visits. We'll look at things that we might provide some suggestions of keeping your business safe, your church safe. That goes to businesses too, to call us. Everybody, if you're not familiar, I know some of you are, we recently had a guy that was burglarizing our county pretty good. And we were fortunate we were able to catch him relatively quickly, but not until he'd done some damage here. But some things that we were finding were like video camera systems. He was cutting power to the video cameras. He cut the power to the building. And so all the video surveillance systems were on that power. When the power got turned off or shut off or cut off, it cut the power to the cameras. So how many of you here have businesses, have security cameras, have a backup system in place? Talked to a gentleman yesterday, and he's a Dawsonville business owner, and he's got one of these high-hearted businesses. And we're talking to him about his alarm system, and his alarm calls him. And I said, no, please have your alarm call us first, your alarm system. We want to be able to get there. It may be a false alarm, but that's okay. Well, we've answered a bunch of those, and we'll continue to do so. So we call it hardening the target. So if you have a business, if you have a church, anything that you want to do that we can help with and maybe put an extra set of eyes on, we'd love to help you. Some of the things that we've got going on, obviously we reinstituted the SWAT team back in 2017. We've got a good group. It's primarily, well, it's all men right now, but certainly open to men and women, but we've got a good group. One thing when we took office, we were determined to be an autonomous law enforcement agency. That's not saying that we can do everything, but it was our goal not to have to call our big brother in Forsyth County or Cherokee to come up and do this, or bring a dog up, or bring a drone up, or bring a SWAT team up. We want to be able to handle our own issues. That's not to say we won't call them and get them in right with us, but I think it's only fair and right to our county to be able to get there as quickly as we can and try to fix the situation as quickly as we can. We talked about the SROs. Obviously, we're very proactive in that area. What they want to talk about is this picture of a drone up here. We put the drone in place some time back, and we've used it a lot. We've experienced some success with it. But what's interesting to me and what I enjoy, this was most recently, if you hadn't heard about it, Luncheon County calls. That makes me feel good. When a neighbor calls us, can you come help us? We're going. And that's how it should be. If we needed them, they would be down here for us. But anyways, he put the drone up in the air, and he has some folks around. If you've never seen the drone setup we've got, it's pretty impressive. Even the back of the Tahoe flops up. There's a big screen back there. You can have different observers looking at different things while he's piloting the drone. But as he was going around working, they were saying, well, what's this? And he said, no, that's some deer laying in the pasture, or that's a donkey, or if you look at the tree, look at the creek, those heat signatures come off. He has become so in tune with the drone, he can just look at things right there and tell you, no, that's not it, that's not it. And when he keyed in on the missing elderly man, he said, that's him right there. And he was able to direct the K-9s to him. So it works. And again, technology's not cheap. Technology changes a lot, but those are the type of things that are wins for us as a county. We put a lot of emphasis on our K-9 program. We still have multi-purpose dogs and traffic dogs and bomb dogs here in Dawson County. All of your deputies now in uniform have body cameras. That's something that's relatively new to Dawson County, but it's helped us. It helps us be able to get a complaint on something that's really to go back and start reviewing body cam footage and things like that. And I had one not too long ago. It was a guy called me, and he was upset about how something happened. And long story short, I was able to look at the video camera. I had the real facts in front of me, and we talked and we discussed it. And credit him. He sent me an email next day or two just apologizing for his actions and things like that. So body cams are good. It's good for prosecution. It's good for officer protection. And then, again, it's another good win for our county. Some of the things that are wins for us. And wins for us as a county. We put a lot of emphasis on our K-9 program. We still have multi-purpose dogs and traffic dogs and bomb dogs here in Dawson County. All of your deputies now in uniform have body cameras. That's something that's relatively new to Dawson County, but it's helped us. It helps us be able to get a complaint on something that's really to go back and start reviewing body cam footage and things like that. And I had one not too long ago. It was a guy called me, and he was upset about how something happened. And long story short, I was able to look at the video camera. I had the real facts in front of me, and we talked and we discussed it. And credit him. He sent me an email next day or two just apologizing for his actions and things like that. So body cams are good. It's good for prosecution. It's good for officer protection. And then, again, it's another good win for our county. this is something that's, working with the board, we were able to get in play. I'm proud of our SWAT team, I really am. This is an armored vehicle. We have one ordered now. It's called a Bearcat. Basically, you can put 10 to 12 members of our SWAT team in the back of this thing. You can shoot it with rifles. You can do a lot of things to keep our guys protected when they're going out on scenes. So you'll see that here. I said, I thought about having a little name contest and see who in the county wanted to name this beast when it gets here. And we're going to have fun with it, but we're real proud of that. And again, they're telling us about a year before it gets here. Some things else that are coming up is youth driver training programs. Now, if you have students in high school or coming into the high school, now they'll have the opportunity to take some driver training here that will apply toward their license. So that's a big win for us. We've got a big program coming up in connection with AM to where we're trying a new initiative. And I don't want to let too much out of the bag because Miss Julia will surely write about it at this time, but she will get the first email on that and tell me how to do it. And competition for recruiting and retaining law enforcement officers, that's a big one. We continue to do that. It's a struggle for us sometimes. It's a very competitive market. As business owners, you know how it is. I mean, just getting applications is tough right now, and especially in law enforcement. Y'all know the national sentiment on law enforcement. It's not pretty. And again, I'm still perplexed when men and women come and turn in applications for it. I'm so thankful for it because it's such need. It's so needed. But it is tough. All right, so current trends. We'll move this right along. We talked about the recent thefts and burglaries. Obviously, the more businesses we have, the more cars. If my crime of choice is entering autos, it used to be if you come to Dawson County, where would you go? Sankey's, you know. Does everybody here remember that? When it's just Sankey's and the bank was beside Sankey's? And yeah, that was it. There was nothing else there. If I wanted to enter an auto, I'd go to Sankey's, you know. What was his name? Jimbo. Somebody help me out here. It's been here for a while. We used to have a guy here, he'd get in the car with you. He would scare the fool out of folks. And I remember I was young, I was a teenager, pulled up Sankey's and he went and opened the lady's car door and jumped right in. Take me so-and-so. And she jumped out of the car screaming and yelling. She didn't know what was going on. He was harmless, but jump in the car. I get you shot nowadays. I'm surprised we didn't get him shot back then. We talked about online financial crimes, identity theft. That's big. Again, people rather sit in the privacy of their home in the darkness and do a lot of this deceitful things. We talked about shoplifting, retail theft, overdoses. It's real. I mean, obviously we have a big issue here in Dawson County. Fentanyl, a lot of the deaths that we've had investigated, once we get autopsy reports back, fentanyl plays a large role in all these things. So know that it's here in Dawson County. If you've got family, if you've got children, if you've got grandchildren, if you've got loved ones, please take time and talk to them, let them know. A lot of this stuff, these kids, you know, it's just so uncertain, the levels, you know, very, very careful. But have those hard conversations with your family. And to get back on my soapbox again, social media. You know, I think it's the devil. I understand people use it for businesses. I have an account. I don't get on there much, and I apologize. And please, if you need me, call me, email me, and I'll see me. If you send me something on Facebook, I probably won't get it. So please, I apologize up front. But you see it all the time. I tell folks, we had a meeting not too long ago. Well, it's been a little bit, but I said, you know, the old days of the white van riding down the road snatching your kid. I'm not saying that can't happen or won't happen, but the internet is where your family is most vulnerable. That's where they're going to get the connections with these predators. That's where they're going to build the relationships. That's where they're going to start running away from home. That's where they're going to start joining up with a lot of these predators that's out there. Please do not let the internet and social media babysit your family, your loved ones, your grandkids. Just please be careful with that. One thing that's been obviously in the news across the country is training, and I get asked about that a lot. What does Dawson County do? And I'll tell you that a lot of things that you see on the news now are officers doing things that officers shouldn't do. just like a chokehold. I don't know of an agency that I'm familiar with that teaches a chokehold. Now, if it's a life or death situation and you're fighting for your life, you do anything you want to do. You survive. But as a rule of thumb, is restraining someone, things of that nature. You just don't do things like that. You know, the neck's a very sensitive place, knees on the back of the neck. These are all things that officers are taught not to do. So what goes on in Dawson County, obviously you have the annual firearms training qualification, hand-to-hand type thing, defensive tactics, force on force. We do at Dawson County have a judgmental use of force training simulator. If you've been through our Citizens Academy, you've probably gotten on there and done some of it. Force on force, less lethal, the taser, OC, baton. I tell folks all the time, these are tools. These are not punitive tools. These are not meant to inflict pain. These are meant to stop an action, to allow the deputies to get somebody handcuffed and get them in custody. Once they're in custody, once they're contained and restrained, it stops. It's supposed to stop. Now, what you see on the news sometimes is sometimes officers get mad, they take the car, they take extra punch that they're not justified in doing. And I can tell you this, that one use of force incident, there may be several justifications in there. And what I mean by that is, well, we were arresting him, so we need him in the side or whatever, right? Well, you have to explain that need. When, where did it occur? Why did it occur? How was you trained? So there's a lot that goes into these training of these men and women. And it's not just Dawson County, it's universal. So a lot of things you see on the radio, you see on the TV, or you hear on the radio, see on the TV, are officers going outside that perimeter doing things that we shouldn't be doing. So any questions over that? I know that's kind of a hot topic.
Just a statement, I guess. The hardest thing that I think my husband was an ex-cop.
Yes, ma'am.
So the hardest thing, his training course was a little differently. He was Atlanta PD.
Right.
So it was a little rougher, I guess, on some things, but even staying in the perimeters, to still have somebody take and where your life is in that split second, you have to make those judgment calls on what to do to make sure you come home. And then somebody takes it and can look at it for 8 months to a year and make every millisecond count and say, well, you should have done this. That is very hard. That's just, it's not fair to the officer, especially if they're staying in the parameters, but, you know, that's just a call that's, it is tough.
You're exactly right. Again, when an officer stops the car, you're not expecting the driver to get out, bail out, and run towards you. Years ago, there was a police officer at the city of Gainesville I worked with. He'd stopped the car, and as soon as he stopped the car, the offender got out and rushed him. I mean, just run right toward him. This is back when he was carrying the big long mag flashlights. And his first reaction was, oh. And he laid the guy out. He laid him out. But again, making a split-second decision. Did he have time to, I gotta put my flashlight down, I need to step back, I need to draw my pepper spray? Well, we didn't have tasers back then. Did I need to draw my baton? So a lot of things, there's a case out there, Grant versus Connors, a Supreme Court case. And y'all tell me, because this is kind of interesting, I'm not sure this were a firearms flag. Police officer sitting watching the store. A guy pulls up, gets out of the car, runs in the store real quick. In there for just a few seconds, runs back out, jumps in the car, squeezes out of the parking lot. What do you think the officer's thinking? Probably have a robbery. So the officer starts to follow the car. And not just that, but he's calling the radio. He said, 911, call this store, see what happened. I'll follow this store. I want to find out what happened. Well, while he's waiting on the store, or 911 to call the store and verify what happened, he stops the car. Another police officer gets there. And the driver tells him, he goes up and he's talking to him, and the driver tells him, said my friend is a diabetic, he's having a reaction, and we went in the store, and the line was too long, and he run out or something. All right, is that reasonable so far? From a police officer's point of view, is that reasonable so far? That's a story that you could believe, right? Well, about that time, Graham, who's the diabetic, gets out of the car. Does it change a little bit there? And it begins to run around the car. All right, I know there's only one more cop in here, maybe some ex-cops. How many times have you been lied to in your career? I'll talk about it.
How many
Today. So the officer's getting restrained, and during the course of it, I think they break his arm or something like that. It's a struggle. They get him, but they get him restrained. About that time, 911 calls him back and says, well, it's what they said. The guy went in, the line was too long when he left. So what the cops do? Stand him up, unhandcuff him, dust him off, and apologize. What do you think the court said about that case? Do you think they slammed the cops for that? Do you think it was a good case? Do you think it was a bad case?
What do we think the court said? There's no telling.
Supreme Court in this case said the officers acted reasonably because this is what they were confronted with. And they even used the term, we can't judge it from 20/20 hindsight. We have to, one, have to know who's the officer, how long has he been in service, what's his training, what was he faced with, what was going through his mind. So there's a lot of criteria there that played into it, and it's a good case for law enforcement. Now, the scary thing is, and I may have, if you're from out west, I'll apologize, but there's cases in California that they're saying, we don't care what the Supreme Court says, we want to judge you on our set of rules and standards. That's a scary place to be. And I promise you, again, I told you, it's been 30 years. I have never in all my years either known, been associated with, or done it myself, come on duty and said, well, I'm going to go out and violate someone's rights because of their race, because of their sex, their gender, their sexual orientation, their religious affiliation, period. I have never known that. Not saying that it may not happen from time to time, but personally, I can tell you that in 30 years, I've never seen that, never been around it. Things happen in law. Officers get involved in bad situations. They respond. I always say we get invited to the dance. Yeah, the officer may turn on the blue lights for a traffic offense or something like that, but how officers respond is all based and predicated on what they do. So I'll wrap this thing up real quick. I know we're getting short for time. I like to keep a check on our officers down, and as you can see, so far this year we've had 18. 9 of those were gunfire. We're in February or March. So I want to share this with you. I always like to share this. We talk about patrol. Who all heard the term routine patrol? Probably everybody. When we, as Captain will tell you, there's nothing routine about patrol.
Absolutely not.
So let me grab the basket. Y'all don't laugh. Some of you are already there. Some of you are getting close. Go and take a look at you. This is a young lady, Natalie Becky Corona. She was shot and killed after responding to a report of a 3-car vehicle crash as she was conducting an investigation at the collision scene. All right, here's an officer that's going to a wreck scene and is doing what an officer does. They're doing an accident investigation. A person not involved in the crash rode up to the scene on a bicycle. As she was speaking to one of the persons involved in the crash, the man walked up and opened fire without warning, striking her. He shot her several more times after she fell to the ground before shooting randomly at other bystanders and vehicles. She started her career with the Davis Police Department in 2016. She had been off-field training for 3 weeks. She was survived by her parents and 3 younger sisters. Her father recently retired from the county sheriff's office. It's a tough career. It's a demanding career. And I made a statement to the group yesterday. I said, I've got a son. My youngest son works at a business in the county, making more money than what our starting detention officers are. It's tough to get folks into the door. They work nights, they work weekends, they work holidays, they get spit on, they have stuff thrown at them that I don't even want to mention in here. They have to deal with the backlash of social media. It's a tough profession, ladies and gentlemen. I admire our men and women for doing it. I'm thankful that we still have men and women for doing it. But with that being said, I do want to shut up. I thank you for your time and your attention. But please, any questions I can answer for you? Again, thank you. I don't have business cards. Maybe right now, I ran out. Please come see me, call me, catch me here, and I'll give you my cell phone number. But anything I can do for you, or our office can do for you, we would do everything within our power. But thank you.
you're all probably thinking it, but I want to publicly thank Sheriff Jeff Johnson for the services they provide to this community. You know, it's not ever anything that you think about until you need it. And so we're very thankful to have Sheriff Johnson and of course our commissioners who are supportive of everything that we need to help keep us safe. So that is most important. So thank you so much. A little bit of a housekeeping. Can I ask a favor? I am so glad that you are all here. So glad. But we would love if we could get everyone to register so we know how many people will be coming, so we can make sure we have enough food for everyone. So please, it's on Chamber Chatter. You can actually go out there and register for next month's, not next month, but in May for our business luncheon. We want you all to come back, and I love seeing all of your beautiful faces, but I want to be sure that we provide enough food and that you're well fed. So please be sure that you register. And I also want to introduce, I didn't tell her I was going to do this. I want to introduce Rebecca Kelly. There at the back table. See, she's like, what? She's our newest member of the chamber. She is our Welcome Center coordinator. We threw her in the week of Gala, and she's still here, so I'm so excited about that. That was her first week, and of course now our building is under construction, so we are excited to have her on board. So I wanted to be sure you recognize that friendly face. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, thank you so much to Medical Plaza 400 for sponsoring, and of course Amanda from, I always get it.
Neighbors of Dawsonville.
Yes! Neighbors of Dawsonville magazine for sponsoring today's luncheon, and I hope to see you all soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.